Right now at 8, Madison's new police chief on the record why he says body cameras are not something to expect in the near future.
And we're expecting a pretty warm weekend ahead. I'll have your full forecast coming up.
Plus, we are honoring local veterans, showing you a special flight. Well, good morning, and thanks for waking up with us this weekend. I'm Michelle Renee Quinn.
And I'm meteorologist Jacob Montesano. You're watching Weekend Mornings on Saturday, September 13th. We had some storms roll through this morning, but as we look at the current radar, a lot of that is gone. It's all now south of us in northeast Illinois. Still, areas near Kenosha still seeing some showers, but for the most part, we are pretty dry. But all this rain you're seeing right now in northeast Illinois, that rolled through our area, bringing plenty of rain and plenty of lightning and thunder, but we didn't see any severe weather, so that is the good news. Now, looking closer at our area, there are a few very isolated showers. These may be possible for the next few hours. Can't completely rule them out, but likely not going to amount to much. Maybe an isolated storm here or there, but genuinely we are going to be pretty dry for the rest of the weekend. Looking at the forecast, just a few on and off clouds, sunshine at times, maybe a light shower like I mentioned, but really it is going to be dry for the rest of the weekend now that morning system has kind of cleared out of the area. Looking at the temperatures, the cloud cover overnight has kept the temperatures fairly mild, middle 60s for a lot of the area, and we're going to warm up into the lower 80s for much of the region. We are going to continue to see a decent amount of cloud cover, though. Definitely some sunshine at times, and the later we get in the day, the more likely we will see that sunshine with those temperatures in the lower 80s. And it looks like La Crosse will see a little bit more sunshine as the storms kind of cleared out of the area much earlier for you folks in La Crosse. So expect partly sunny skies and high temperatures in the lower 80s. And I'll have more details on the rest of the weekend coming up a bit later.
All right, thanks, Jacob. We'll be checking in shortly. New this morning, the newly appointed chief, John Patterson, says having body cameras soon is unlikely for Madison PD. Nearly 1 year ago, Madison's PD ended pilot body cam programs, and the former police chief wanted the department to have the cameras by 2027. Now, Madison is the biggest department in Dane County without that technology. And last year, that trial found behavior in the office did not change while wearing cameras. Chief Patterson says 2027 just isn't necessarily a practical timeline as the city is coming off of the voter-approved referendum last year.
We're still managing, some of our budget challenges for next year. And so I don't think we'll see them immediately, but I'm going to continue to prioritize those as an acquisition in the future.
Patterson says his concern is also over personnel and the manpower it takes for a records department to process all of the footage.
To think about dropping 492 body cameras and all the associated video that's going to be recorded every day on our records staff right now would be, ill-advised, I think.
Former Chief Sean Barnes said the agency would need to add at least one paid position to handle additional footage. And our Ellie LaLiberte talks through body camera and crime issues with Chief Patterson. You can find that tomorrow, Sunday morning at 10:30, right here on Channel 3000 during her For the Record show. And this morning, the Amber Alert remains active for a missing Portage County kid. 6-year-old Ruby Lemon was last seen at her grandmother's house in Almond. She was wearing a lavender dress with smiley faces, and police say she's believed to be with her uncle, Jordan Coyle. Now, Jordan Coyle is on your screen now. He has a dinosaur, puppy, butterfly, and cat tattoo on his arm. He's believed to be driving a white 2001 Ford F-250 with a Wisconsin license plate WC2249. If you know where they could be, the number on your screen is for Portage County Sheriff's Office. That's 888-304-3936. In national news, President Trump expands his crackdown on crime by deploying National Guard troops to Memphis. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee says he's coordinating with the Trump administration to work out the details of the mission. This comes as an ICE operation turned deadly when officials say ICE agents working in a Chicago suburb shot and killed a suspect. They say the suspect tried to ram his vehicle into the arrest team, dragging an officer with the car. The officer involved is in stable condition. Investigators have been combing through the belongings of the teenager who opened fire at a Colorado school this week. Agents have searched his room and backpack and his locker at Evergreen High School outside Denver. The sheriff's office says the 16-year-old had been radicalized by an extremist network. He shot and injured 2 students before fatally shooting himself. The shooting happened in the same county as Columbine High School, where 2 teenage gunmen killed 14 people in 1999. Switching gears here in Madison, we're giving you a glimpse of a flight that honors servicemen and women who have fought for our freedom through many generations. The Badger Honor Flight gives vets the opportunity to see the memorials that have been built in their honor. And our photojournalist, Chris Hawbacker, shows us the latest Badger Honor Flight.
Today is mission number 61. On our prior 60 flights, we have flown over 5,300 men and women from World War II all the way through the war on terrorism. No 2 veteran has the same story, and no 2 veteran has probably been treated the same or experienced the same. You've got veterans who enlisted, you've got ones that have been drafted, so it caused a lot of different emotions there. Get everybody registered, make sure we got everybody accountable. And then we kick it off with what I think is a great little send-off ceremony. We have, get a military officer, we get an invocation.
Today, you're going to get a lot of thanks. And I want you to know that every single one of you deserve that thanks. You wore the uniform of the United States, and in doing so, you carried on a proud tradition that laid the foundation for the next generation of service members like me. Your actions shaped the course of history. You answered the nation's call. Today, we remember that and we honor you.
What makes Badger Honor Flight really unique is that we give our veterans the choice to select their own guardian. So they get to take and spend today with someone that they know, and we have found that that creates a really great experience for the veteran. But you saw that reception here at Reagan. That's a great little reception. It's the first of many that these veterans would get. Try and get our photo shoot out right away.
Okay, if I can have the small group that's over here on my right, take just to tighten in a little bit.
At the Iwo Jima Memorial for the primarily here for the Marine Corps. The history of the United States, what we can do when we have our mind set to it. It was a very difficult battle. And it's on both sides. Many people died over this island. These 5 individuals raising the flag over Mount Suribachi, and it's fortitude of the United States back in the time of the greatest generation. Sacrifice for many people from World War II through Korea, Vietnam, into today.
You can see the groan or the grunt on their faces as they're lifting up the flag. I've got a friend at home. He's kind of like a half-brother. He'll be 100 years old. And he says he was on site when they lifted the flag.
We hear from more veterans on the Badger Honor Flight right after the break.
And I'll have a full look at your weekend forecast. This is Weekend Mornings. Keep it here.
You're watching Weekend Mornings.
Continuing now to hear from more veterans on their recent Badger Honor Flight.
All this thanks to my uncle that was in Korea and what he had to go through. Seeing this healing. I'm a Vietnam vet. Healing is one of the biggest things.
I get to travel here. I get to put back together the memories that I had. What a golden opportunity this is.
Probably wouldn't have been here myself if it wasn't for the honor flight. I'm not much of a traveler. Everybody would like to relive some probably wouldn't want to relive it also, but I mean, it's just a way of getting out and speak about what they endured.
Kind of heals the wounds a little bit, and there's camaraderie with the flight.
I think it's something that everybody should see because it's in remembrance of everybody that we lost. So,
some it's closure, some that they have friends, family, names on the wall, whether they served with them or knew them.
It's a place of reflection. I mean, you talk about the Lincoln Memorial and reflection pool, but what you see here with the building itself and the people that lost their lives both on the plane and in the Pentagon, it's a nice tribute.
We do a thing called mail call. When these guys were in Vietnam, that was their connection to home. And so what we do is we gather up letters that friends and family, grandkids have all put together, and they have to get a package, and then we hand them all out on the plane. And now for the next half an hour or so, they get to open up all of these letters from loved ones.
Once you get off the plane, get to the top of the escalator and you hear that band. And you're seeing folks from one end of the airport all the way almost towards baggage claim. That's what it's all about. We've given these veterans here the welcome home that they never got.
And the home of the brave.
Thank you to photojournalist Chris Haubacker for compiling that story. What a beautiful story it is, and we love honoring our veterans. Now, Jacob Montesano is getting you guys ready to head out the door, planning your day live from our studio in Madison. Good morning.
Good morning, Michelle. Renee, here's a look at the 3 things you need to know. Now that rain is cleared out, we're going to be mostly dry for the rest of the weekend with highs in the 80s. And our next chance of rain won't be until Thursday, at least our next solid chance of rain. We still might see a few of these light showers throughout the afternoon, but I don't expect anything to be too significant. Maybe an isolated storm here or there, but again, it is going to be fairly dry. Most of the area won't see any more rain for the rest of the day. Here's all the rain that did go through our area right now across northeast Illinois, moving completely out of Wisconsin. Now, as we take a look at the forecast throughout the rest of the day, we're still going to see a good amount of cloud cover. So at some points, we'll see cloudy skies, other times sunshine. And again, still going to see these very isolated pop-up showers here and there. But for the most part, we're going to be mostly dry. And the dry conditions are expected to continue once we head into Sunday and for the early portion of next week. So looking at the highs throughout the afternoon, middle to lower 80s for Madison and areas to the west, only going to stay in the upper 70s for areas to the east, still above average for this time of the year. And then tomorrow we'll have similar temperatures, but a little bit more sunshine, middle to lower 80s once again maybe in the upper 70s for areas to the east, but certainly above normal for this time of the year. And temperatures are going to continue to warm up for next work week, especially Tuesday, where we could see high temperatures in the middle 80s. And then we're going to see some cooler air towards the end of next week, but still expect to see it fairly comfortable. So looking at the 10-day forecast in La Crosse, you folks will start to see the rain on Wednesday. Madison won't see it until a little bit later, probably not until Wednesday night, but still going to see those warm temperatures early in the week, and then the cooler temperatures for the end of the week and next weekend. But again, those temperatures towards the end of next week are still going to be very comfortable. We'll have highs in the 70s for the most part, maybe a few upper 60s, but it's still going to be, like I said, definitely comfortable after the warm air that we're going to see for the first half of the week. So in general, pretty good forecast, especially if you like the warm air. It's going to be dry and warm the next several days. So definitely take advantage of it, as we may not see these temperatures quite like this for this many days in a row until potentially next year, as we are in September. Those temperatures are just going to continue to fall on average. Obviously, the next couple of days are going to be on the warm side, though.
Yeah, we got to hang on to this last sliver
right.
that we got here. Maybe I'll take advantage of it and go hammocking, read my book outside.
Yeah, maybe it might be, one of the last few days you can really, get out and go swimming, I'd say.
Right. Well, yeah. Pool's closed in my apartment.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Well, my favorite part of the newscast, our morning motivation.
And today we have a morning quote from Elizabeth Gilbert: "Embrace the glorious mess that you are."
I will, Jacob. Thank you. And I hope you guys do, too, at home.
That quote's actually from me. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I like this a lot because, a lot of people, sometimes may get made fun of for being different. But as long as you're, I'd say
proud to be yourself.
Yes, and the only trait that we should all have in common is be kind.
Yes.
I feel like that's the one thing. Beyond
Absolutely.
that, be yourself.
Absolutely. Be yourself, be kind, and embrace your glorious, kind mess.
I see what you did there.
And before we head to break, as always, we already shared our morning motivation, but Will Ober's going to be up next, and he's got the 3 things that you need to know. We'll be right back. You're watching Weekend Mornings. There's never a shortage of films and shows streaming.
Our Will Loper shares a few of the best in this weekend's 3 Things to Watch.
So what do we do now?
Do I have to meet the parents?
Watch a psychological thriller with The Girlfriend, newly streaming on Amazon Prime Video.
I don't trust her.
Let's see if we can't push our buttons.
Yes. I'm not good enough for her.
I love you for you.
Robin Wright directs and stars in the series as a mother who becomes paranoid her son's new girlfriend might be more than who she says she is.
You have to choose one of us.
I'm your son.
His visa runs out in a few months and he doesn't want to go back to Korea.
My grandmother doesn't know I'm gay.
You come out, they cut you off.
I have a proposal. You marry me, and I'll pay for Liz to grow a baby.
What?
Me?
Engage in a comedy with the 2025 film The Wedding Banquet, newly streaming on Paramount+.
His grandmother flew in from Korea to meet her future granddaughter-in-law.
What are we supposed to do exactly?
We gotta de-queer the house.
Hijinks ensue when 2 members of separate couples pretend to be engaged when one of their grandmas visits.
This is absurd. All so you can get a green card.
Jeez. Let's try looking more in love.
Guys, the police report just came in.
A guy fills a fountain with blood in the most murderous building in New York. They say it's accidental?
So we just assumed murder.
And solve a new mystery with Only Murders in the Building Season 5, newly streaming on Hulu.
These people could be killers.
Oh, you got your hands on the body.
Hey! That's a felony, right? I'm sure they went to the authorities immediately.
You know what? Let's get you some more caviar.
I think there's more.
Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez return as the podcasters out to solve the death of their building's doorman. Those are the 3 things you need to watch, and this is Will Loper for Weekend Mornings.
I'll definitely have to keep watching that. But did you ever watch Thunderbirds?
Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts.
No. I made the joke last week that I've been wanting to see it, and now it's available on Disney Plus, and I have Disney Plus, and I made the joke I probably will come this time next week and still not see it, and that is true.
But that's because of all of the sports, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was the first week of the NFL season, and there's still baseball going on, just a lot of sports going on. And speaking of sports, let's take a look actually at the Badgers game forecast. Now, this is in Alabama. It's going to be a hot one. If you think it's going to be warm here, it's going to be even hotter down there. If you happen to be watching and happen to be attending the game as well, be ready. It's going to be a toasty one for sure.
Yeah, maybe some sunscreen.
Yeah.
Well, while Alabama lost at Florida State for its opener, they rolled over Louisiana Monroe with a 73-0 victory, and they're set to square off against Alabama today at 11 a.m. Don't go anywhere. Next, we're running through the day's top headlines. Stick with us. You're watching Weekend Mornings.
We're tracking more warm temperatures up and coming. I'll have the full forecast coming up.
Well, happy Saturday, and thanks for waking up with us. I'm your Weekend Morning anchor, Michelle Renee Quinn.
And I'm meteorologist Jacob Montesano. Today is Saturday, September 13th. You're watching Weekend Mornings. You doing good this morning, Michelle?
I am. You know, it was a really loud thunder this morning,
Yeah.
but all of that seems to have pretty much cleared up for the most part. So I think it's going to be a pretty good day, right?
Yeah, we are. We're only going to see a very small chance of rain for the rest of the day. We had that rain already move through, but looking at the current radar, you can see just a few light showers here and there, nothing too extreme. But further to the southeast, you can see this is all the rain that did roll through the region. So that's gone, and we're not going to see anything like this for the rest of the day. Now, like I mentioned, still seeing a few very isolated showers here and there. This may continue for the next couple of hours. Maybe an isolated storm here or there, but for the most part, a lot of the area shouldn't see much rain for the rest of the day. We are going to continue to see a good amount of clouds, though. Some points we'll see cloudy skies, other points sunshine. So just kind of a mix in clouds and sun throughout the day, but it will be warm. And we're seeing mild temperatures right now compared to what we normally see for the low temperatures during the morning this time of the year. Middle 60s for a lot of the region. Some areas, you folks in La Crosse, are already at 70. And we are going to see those temperatures warm up to the lower 80s, despite the fact that we'll continue to see a good amount of cloud cover. Lower 80s will be in the forecast for just about everybody. A few locations may stay in the upper 70s, but we're still expecting above normal temperatures. But I'll continue talking about the rest of the weekend coming up a bit later.
Thanks, Jacob. We'll be checking in shortly. A 36-year-old Madison man is now arrested after a 6th OWI offense and a police chase. Monona PD responded to Highway 51 after a call reported an unconscious driver. Upon arrival, police say the driver regained consciousness and refused commands and then drove away, starting a car chase. When it ended, the suspect was not cooperative with officers and refused to exit the vehicle. Spike strips in a tactical approach was used. Officers and deputies physically removed the suspect from the vehicle, and a search of the vehicle indicated drug and alcohol use. We now know the name of the man accused of killing an elderly man in Mazomanie last month before being shot and killed during a standoff with police. Officials are identifying him as Andrew Collymore. He's accused of killing Thomas Muckler at a home on Dunlap Hollow Road and then stealing Muckler's truck. Law enforcement began a high-speed chase with Collymore in Marinette County after spotting the vehicle. When it crashed, Collymore reportedly got out of the truck and approached officers. Police opened fire, killing him. The DCI is investigating the shooting and will turn over any reports to the Marinette County District Attorney's Office. A judge sentenced the Fall River man accused of stabbing a 17-year-old and then running her over in 2022. Dylan Lenz is to spend 13 years in prison plus 15 of extended supervision. Lenz was found guilty of attempted first-degree intentional homicide. He allegedly told investigators he was trying to kill the girl. She was found in a Walmart parking lot with several injuries. UW-Madison PD is investigating parts of Library Mall and Bascom Hall after they were vandalized with red paint early Friday. Police say flyers were also posted on the building, and the university says anyone found responsible may face felony charges or disciplinary action. Time now is 8:29. Still ahead on weekend mornings, over $80,000 is being returned to pockets of consumers like you. I'll sit down with the lead call for action volunteer bringing you the August recap. And before we head to break, here's a look at your gas prices. You're watching Weekend Mornings. Keep it here. Welcome back. Joining me now is lead call for action volunteer Jackie. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me in again.
Thanks for coming. And this morning we are talking about the August recap. So I know it was a big month for call for action. What can you tell us?
It was. In August, we took in 49 new cases for consumers, and we got back to consumers $81,966.
That is insane. That's almost $82,000.
It is. And that's a very high number. That's not typical for a month. But we had one case that closed where we got a consumer $45,000 back. Our consumer advocate worked for that person for 16 months and got him $45,000.
16 months. And now what kind of case was that one?
That one was involving a Social Security disability, which is why it was so big.
Okay, and so now is that one of our top categories for call for action cases this month?
Government isn't one of our top categories.
Okay.
Our top categories, again, were consumer, landlord tenant, and home improvement contractor. But we do have one really good expert with the Social Security and the disability things. So.
Okay. Well, maybe that expert will join me one day at the couch.
She will.
Now, I know that you guys do a lot more than just reaching out for people and helping consumers who reach out to you. You guys also provide education to consumers and multiple groups within the area. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
I'd be glad to. We do it in three forms. The most common thing that we do is when we're talking to people, we usually are giving them advice, what they could do differently next time, what they need to do. We also have a monthly newsletter, the Consumer Advocate, that we will email out to people that are interested. Talks about our consumer advocates, who they are, what they do. It also talks about tips, talks about some of the cases we've worked on. So I think it's interesting. So anybody can request that from us. And the third thing we do is we go out and we do speaking in the public. I go out to community organizations, I've gone out to Rotary groups, senior centers, schools, Lions groups, any of those things. Sometimes I talk simply about call for action and what we do and how we can help consumers. I do longer talks about how to keep your identity safe.
That's a big one.
That's a big one. Or frauds and scams, what some of the current ones are, what to look out for.
All right, and now is there anything else that you want either businesses or consumers to know?
The one thing I want to tell consumers right now is next Thursday, we're doing a call-in show here at the station.
Yes, we are.
So we're going to be live and have people ready to take your calls from 4 o'clock until 7 o'clock on Thursday.
Yes, and I will be hosting that so you guys can call right on in and get all the information. And something else that not a lot of people know, this is not just for Wisconsin residents, correct?
Correct. We can serve anyone in the state of Wisconsin, the states of Illinois, or the state of Minnesota. And there is a national call for action office that people can get a hold of if you've got a friend or relative that needs help that lives in another state as well.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us. And you guys be sure to join Jackie, me, and a bunch of other volunteers this Thursday from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. during our telethon. And now here's Jacob with the 3 things you need to know.
Thanks, Michelle. Renee, we are going to see fairly dry conditions for the rest of the weekend. Highs will be in the 80s as well, and the 80s will continue through the early portion of next work week. Rain not expected to return until Thursday. So looking at the current radar once again, we are looking very dry, just a few very isolated showers here and there. All that rain that you saw earlier well off to the southeast at this point. Can't completely rule out an isolated shower for the afternoon hours, but for the most part, we are looking very dry, and the dry weather will certainly continue for the first half of next week. Highs will be in the middle to lower 80s today as well, maybe upper 70s for places to the east of Madison, but everyone expected to see above normal temperatures for sure. And then looking at tomorrow, plenty of sunshine, highs in the middle to lower 80s again. And the temperatures, they are going to remain warm, and conditions will also remain dry through Monday. And that's going to continue for Tuesday and Wednesday as well with those 80s in the forecast. Now the rain's going to return Thursday, and that's going to cool the temperatures off quite a bit. Could see some thunderstorms, but obviously a lot could still change between now and then for Thursday. But that does look to be our next solid chance of rainfall. For you folks in La Crosse, it may start during the day on Wednesday, but a lot of the region will start to see that rain develop overnight Wednesday and continue into Thursday, possibly Friday as well. And we could be seeing some high temperatures in the upper 60s for next weekend, but the majority of the area should see high temperatures in the lower 70s throughout next weekend. And right now it does look to be dry, but as I mentioned about Thursday's rainfall, a lot can still change between now and then. So if you like these warm temperatures, it's kind of unlikely that we're going to see this warm air continue, or at least continue to this extent going forward, because once we get to the end of the 10-day forecast, we're getting close to kind of the end of September, and then eventually we'll get into October and November with those temperatures continuing to fall. So these 80s that we're going to see the next several days, these may be the last time we see temperatures this warm, and it's a very good chance that these are the last times we see temperatures this warm for this many days in a row. So soak up the temperatures this weekend. It is going to be warm, and if you like it cooler, like myself, it is going to cool down towards the end of that 10-day forecast. And right now, next weekend does look to be pretty dry after that rain Thursday and Friday. So kind of a little bit of everything with the 10-day forecast. And the rainfall we had this last night and this morning, definitely, the timing of it was pretty good because it happened overnight, and we definitely kind of needed the rain. It's been very dry lately, so it's good we got a little bit.
Yes, and it's not too much coming up. We just have a little bit for us, a little bit for La Crosse. Not too bad.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, Jacob. Tomorrow, television's biggest night at the Emmy Awards. This year, some of the big names show up for nomination include Apple TV's Severance and The Studio, as well as the star of the CBS reboot of Matlock, actress Kathy Bates. Some of the Emmy producers say viewers can expect some fun reunions and nostalgic moments. And you can catch the Emmys right here on WISC-TV tomorrow at 7 p.m. You are watching Weekend Mornings. Up next, our sports director, Andrew Banstra, highlights high school football in this week's final drive. And stick around. Later on, Jacob and I are sharing our Badger predictions for today's game.
You're watching Weekend Mornings.
Friday night lights shine a little brighter under our camera. High school football is on week 4 of action, and our Andrew Banstra shows us last night's final drive.
Welcome into week 4 of high school football. I'm Andrew Banstra, and this is the final drive. Let's get into it with our game of the week. A Badger Large battle. Milton has been magnificent this year, and they put their undefeated record on the line at Oregon. The Panthers coming off a loss, their first of the year at Sun Prairie East. Grab your popcorn, folks. This should be a good one. Scoreless in the first quarter, and Milton's Mr. Do-It-All, Lucas Weinert, comes up with a big special teams play. He's a receiver, a corner, their kicker, and a punt blocker. He recovers it in the end zone for the early score. What a play. And later, final seconds of the first, and the Panthers pounce. Ethan Pagels puts it downfield for Romani Wright, who comes away with it with the big-time chunk play, setting up Oregon for this. Pagels dances out of the pocket, buys himself some time, and threads the needle, finding his man Braden Evans for the score, but the Redhawks would respond. Their QB, Jake Cummins, fools everyone, including the cameraman, and finds Caden Pernot, who would not be denied. Milton wins it and stays undefeated, 28-6, the final score. Elsewhere, Cambridge just keeps on crushing it. They would down Deerfield 55-7, improving to 4-0 themselves. And what a bounce-back win for Poynette. A tough test for them tonight against Waterloo, but the Pumas pounced back in a big way, taking down Waterloo 36-0. There were so many good games on tonight, we couldn't just have a game of the week. We needed a game of the night, too, and for that, we dip into Division 5 and send it to our very own Nash Dara.
Andrew, the Glarner Knights of New Glarus headed north to the city of Richland Center to face the Hornets. New Glarus hasn't lost a game, while Richland Center's only loss came at the hands of the reigning state runner-up, Potosi Cassville. Setting the stage for a match we may see again later down the road. It turned into a defensive battle in the first half after 2 field goals from New Glarus. Hornets quarterback Jaden Shep escapes the pressure and throws it downfield before it is stripped from the receiver's hands by defensive back Ethan Kolstad, who would get the first touchdown of the night. But the Hornets, down 13-0, would not go down without a fight, as Shep would get a pick-6 of his own. While dodging some tacklers, Shep would keep his team in the game near the end of the first half. However, this would be the only points of the night for the Hornets, as they fall to New Glarus 25-7.
Thank you, Nash, and let's get back into the Big 8 for a big-time matchup. Janesville Craig meets up with Middleton, a pair of 2-1 teams looking to establish themselves atop the conference. But you can't do that without withstanding the craziest plane ride of your entire life and, of course, taking care of business in the Big 8. We head to the second half. Janesville Craig driving, trying some trickery, but Middleton's Anthony Politeri with the deflection. How about this? Playing some pinball. And who finds it but Espen Achenbach? His arms corral the interception, and it leads to this for Middleton. Joey Pasaglia, play action, fakes out everybody and finds Luke Sheehan for the score, putting the Cardinals up by 4 scores. They go on to win it. 31-0 is the final. After surviving a scare last week, Waunakee is still undefeated. And honestly, as good as they've looked in the last few years is what they look like right now. This Warrior team looks like a state champion squad of years past, looking to improve to 5-0 against Sun Prairie West. And this one was all Waunakee, marching down the field in the first quarter, finishing off a drive with what they do best, the ground game. Colin Murphy calls the first score of the contest 7-0. Later there in the first. The Prairie Wolves looking for their first points, but the Warriors came howling. Wes Ducharme shakes things up, blocking the field goal attempt, and Chuck Farrell chucks up the deuces. You can forget about catching Chuck. Make it 13-0 Wanakee, who still wanted more. In the second, back to the ground game and give it to Jack Silverson, who jacks the tally up. Wanakee goes on to win it 41-6, the final score. Well, man, has Monona Grove been good this year. They suffered their first loss last week at the hands of Wanakee in that overtime thriller we mentioned. They look to get back into the win column tonight. Standing in their way, DeForest, a Norski squad needing a win, but Monona Grove wasn't going to let that happen. Silver Eagles leading 36-0 in the third and used the defense to tack on another two. A high snap for DeForest. Norski picks it up, but the Silver Eagles shut the door with a safety. Make it 38-0 Monona Grove. And later, DeForest would get on the board. They'd play it safe with the run call. Up the middle, Dalton Lee goes to eat that donut off the scoreboard, but that would be the Norski's only score in the contest. Monona Grove gets back into the win column, 38-8, the final score. Elsewhere, a barn burner in Platteville. How about this one? 40-38, the final score. And then headed over to Edgerton in what is hopefully the only win for the Crimson Tide on the football field this weekend. Edgerton wins it, handing the Cheesemakers of Monroe their fourth loss of the season. To finish up, we make our way to the Mount, where Watertown wandered over to Mount Horeb with an upset on their mind. Meanwhile, the Vikings vying for their third win in 4 weeks. We start in the first quarter. Mount Horeb Barneveld's Brooks Hendrickson. How good is number 12? That good. A fantastic player is he, and he keeps it going this year with a 37-yard keeper to the house. And the Vikings were just getting started. Later, Hendrickson finds his man Henry DeRosier. He gets a nice block, throws a stiff arm, and says goodbye. Off to the races for a 33-yard score. And Hendrickson, well, he was just getting that wing warmed up. Later on, Kelson Baumgart catches a bomb and finds the end zone. How about this? Mount Horeb scores 3 times in the first quarter and climbs their way to the top of the scoreboard, getting the win over the Watertown Goslings 45-13. Elsewhere, Clinton, how about a barn burner? You talk about this, a defensive battle. 2 undefeated teams, Clinton and Beloit Turner. Clinton comes out on top 6-0, the final in Beloit. And how about this one? A high-scoring battle between Lake Mills and Belleville, but the Elcats come out on top 47-14, the final score. But we are just getting started with sports coverage. When we come back, Wisconsin volleyball goes on the road for the first time this year. Could they bring a win back to Madison? Next in sports.
Well, this weekend is big for the Badgers across the board, starting on the volleyball court. Wisconsin made the trip south to Atlanta for an NCAA rematch from last season. Take a look at this video. They're visiting Georgia Tech in a top 25 showdown, and, you know, they made it look easy. They won all 3 sets, and newcomers Grace Egan and Mimi Collier really just standing out this weekend. Look at this.
Guess who? Grace Egan.
And Bucky has something to prove. Today is the ultimate opportunity. The Badgers head to Tuscaloosa today, versing Alabama, who obliterated the Badgers last season. This time around, the team says they're going to shock the world.
It's a challenge that you love to accept, and we have. And it's what you come to Wisconsin for, right? Come to play in those big environments and prove everyone wrong.
It will be really cool because this is the first test, and you couldn't ask for a better test just to see what your team is made out of. And you know, you have your assumptions about how your team is going to do and everything and how you're going to click together, but this is where you see.
And ahead of the Badger game, we're sharing our morning team predictions. Let's start. Josh Sprider predicts a blowout 3-42 Alabama win, and I'll just cut it short. Everyone's going to have an Alabama win. 38-7 for Savannah, 28-13 for Chris, 35-17 for Kyrion. I want to show everyone ours.
Yes, I do. Look at that. Alabama's winning in our predictions, too.
Yeah, I feel, well, and here's the thing. So Chris kind of unofficially won last week. He was the closest to the actual pick.
Only a field goal away.
Yeah, and of everyone, he actually has the margin of victory for Alabama the smallest. So if the trend continues, maybe it won't be as big of a blowout as some of us are predicting. I mean, obviously, I want the Badgers to win, and I'm absolutely going to be rooting for them. But, I mean, Alabama's Alabama.
Alabama is Alabama, but we do have to keep in mind that they lost their season opener.
That is true.
So, I mean, we can't really just take that 73 from last week, because that 73, I mean, who were they versing?
Yeah, plus we also don't really know how good Wisconsin is, because the two teams they played, you know, they were supposed to be wins, so it's hard to gauge a lot from it. I think this is going to be a real test for them. And Alabama, you know, Florida State is, you know, I'm not going to say like these other schools aren't real opponents, but Florida State is a big team.
You know
so
what?
the fact that they lost to them, you know.
My brother just graduated from Florida State, and he played football.
Oh,
so
wow.
he was versing them last year. And I don't know what
That's
last year's
awesome.
score was, but moving on.
Did they play last year? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that either. So
Anyway.
maybe not. Sorry, guys. Anyways, moving on. I don't think I'm surprising anyone with today's playlist pick. Take a listen. You're listening to September by Earth, Wind, and Fire. As always, please send a playlist pick to me. You know my email's on your screen. You can share that anytime. Thanks for watching Weekend Mornings. Coming up next is Mission Unstoppable, and our next newscast is up at 6 p.m. Find us streaming always on Channel 3000+.